Okay. So, hello everybody. Hi. We're kicking off. Yeah, thank you. So, thanks very much for turning out today. Standing room only. Welcome to Cambridge AI. It's a regular event run by us, Grounded AI, with support from our very generous sponsors, RedTech Recruitment and the Cambridge Fruit Company. My name is Mark Rogers from Grounded AI. The idea of Cambridge AI, which we set up a couple of years ago now, is to have a sort of very much case studies focused event. So AI you can use, things that you can actually learn from, things that went right, things that went wrong, stories about going to market, solving technical problems, things that are actually useful. So we're going to hear tonight from some of the leaders in the legal AI industry. Lawyers are one of the first groups to be impacted by Gen AI when OpenAI took a position in Harvey. And according to Bowhurst, there are 791 legal tech startups in the UK as of last year, which is a bewildering and slightly mortifying thought. So tonight we're going to be hearing from, let's just see, so here we are. So this is us, Grounded AI and RedTech. Grounded AI, just to introduce ourselves, we're in the citation checking business. Originally that was very much focused on academic citation checking. And we're just about to start, thanks to a collaboration with Law Reports, ICLR, we're just about to start moving into the legal checking area. More on that later. So I'm going to welcome various folk to speak. But to start with, I'd like to thank Emma, Katie, David, and all the staff, Sue, and all of the staff at Mishcon to Reya for hosting us in this great location. Very handy for the station as well for everybody to come and go and drink without getting into trouble. And to Neil Baradwa, who hasn't joined us, for generously providing the fruit basket that you'll see at the front. So I'm just going to introduce Rob from our sponsors RedTech to tell you a little bit about them, and then we'll get on with things. Rob.
Cool. Thanks, Mark. So hello and good evening, everyone. My name's Rob. I'm from RedTech. I'm one of the co-founders. So just to tell you a little about us, we set up 6 years ago. We specialise in STEM recruitment, particularly in the tech AI space, initially in and around Cambridge, because that's where my co-founder Rebecca and I have most of our experience, but then we slowly expanded out into the wider UK remit. Really exciting, we also recently opened up our US division, so we do a lot of hiring there as well now. So recently, and I guess what we're really proud of, is we are one of the top, in fact actually today I was curious, I googled best tech recruitment company in Cambridge, and RedTech is coming up top with that. 105 5-star reviews now, so really proud of that. And I was talking to a founder the other day, and he was saying, what sets us apart, and I think that the main thing is, you get hands-on experience working with me and Rebecca, understanding any kind of hiring problems you've got, and then really helping to scale companies grow, working very closely with founders. That's our forte. Now we've got Lauren here, who's our marketing. So for photo opportunities, it would be great if you could have an opportunity to just spend some time with her, take some pictures with us. We've got Mo from our business development team, and obviously Rebecca as well, who's my other co-founder. So thank you so much, guys. Cheers.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy the pizzas and drinks later.
Yeah, exactly. I think we should make that clear that it is the pizzas and drinks that that have been provided by RedTech. So, and now just a word from our host, Gareth from Mishcon.
So welcome to Mishcon in Cambridge, and thank you, Mark, for the introduction and the opportunity just to say a few words. The subject matter of the meeting tonight is, of course, very modern, but the setting of it in a law firm is quite a traditional choice in many ways, particularly in this city, because although Cambridge continues to innovate and to produce world-leading technologies, it was also the start of legal professorships, at least in the English-speaking world, in 1540, believe it or not. And so if we're able to take that and have a meeting of the leading technology businesses in Cambridge, where better to have it than in a law firm? And specifically, I think in this firm, so if you haven't worked with Mishcon before or our predecessor, Taylor Vinters, then let me explain what I mean by that. Innovation and the innovation economy is one of the three pillars of Mishcon's work. And we've gone all in to protect and to support innovators, entrepreneurs, the disruptors, and the problem solvers. And so we have made it part of our strategy that we are going to work with you, and we have a long tradition at Mishcon and previously at Taylor Vinters of working with quite a wide range of AI businesses, helping them through investment, whether they're startup or scale up, through to patentability searches, infringement analyses, regulatory governance and compliance work, and contractual matters. In our day-to-day work, we were early adopters of a lot of AI systems, and now there's no part of our business that isn't making some use of AI. We don't have any Google rankings that I'm aware of, but we are the top ranked firm in Cambridge for AI-related business, according to Legal 500, so you don't have to believe me for that, it's verified. So it really is great to host you all here this evening. Of course, we're lawyers, so we do produce quite a lot of legal content as well. If anybody is interested in anything related to AI, whether it's case law, policy development, guides on compliance by design, general AI resource hub, please do have a look at our website or come and speak to anybody who's wearing an orange lanyard afterwards. We'll point you in the right direction, and we'll give you some QR codes at the end to make sure you can access those. So thank you very much all for coming. It's a pleasure and a privilege to host you, and we're looking forward to all the presentations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gareth. And thank you again for having us. So our first speaker is Tim Pullan. Tim is a serial founder in AI and LegalTech, has been helping elite law firms transform client experiences in the product of law. A technology lawyer originally and a venture builder by background, he also advises early to growth stage businesses. So Tim. So just get you there.
Thank you very much. Actually, there's history for me here because I was part of that original Taylor Vinters firm, not when it was here in this nice office here, but up north in Cambridge. And also there was a company that was going to present here, but unfortunately the speaker is ill, called Thought River, which I founded in this city around about 10 years ago. So not many people know this, but Cambridge is really a bit of a legal tech hub. I think there's another speaker from Melbourne, which is another city for some reason that has a legal tech history. But you know, a lot of very, very good legal tech companies have been born in this place. But okay, didn't say anything wrong.
No. You could continue.
Okay, he's got my notes there, so I like my notes.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. But today, I've got slightly more than 12 minutes, haven't I, Mark? Slightly more. It's great to be here because we can talk about something that I'm really passionate about, given what I've just said about my background, which is the future of law, and very specifically, the future of law in law firms. So what I'm about to talk about here is the product of law. Companies for whom providing legal services is the thing they're doing. So we're not talking about legal services in-house corporate or any other context. And what I'm addressing is a long-held belief and giving you insight in something that's just changing, which is that law firms are not technology businesses and therefore should rent and not build and control and own their own technology. And I'm going to explain why, for the first time in actually decades, firms are starting to build and not rent their strategic technology. And that's actually why my co-founder Dimitri is here, why we founded Purple earlier this year, because we could see this changing direction for law firms. Go to the next slide. So first, a quick introduction to who we are. So it's Dom, who's not here unfortunately tonight because he's on a flight to Oman, Dimitri and myself. You know, all of this isn't just theory for us. We are a team that's dedicated our lives to this sector. We've got deep roots in law and AI. We're entrepreneurs, we're lawyers, we're data scientists, We've built technology for the world's leading law firms and companies. Why we're called purple? Answers on a postcard. And what we do is we help elite law firms build, prototype, commercialize their own solutions, all in their own generally private cloud, and we do it really fast. And this isn't about reinventing the wheel with technology, it's about creating tailored solutions that fit precisely with the needs of their clients and their businesses. It's about not compromising any longer. You know, if something's important, don't put up with the workarounds and the kind of not so good features of the off-the-shelf software. Build it yourself. And why is now the time to build and not rent? Well, look, the success of a law firm, I'm probably going to get lots of people saying no, but the success of a law firm historically has been based on the lawyer and the lawyers that law firm has and the client relationships they have. The lawyer has always been the product of the law firm, and that's the reason why you see lateral hires and moves and things like that being so important in the law firm market. But what has changed recently, and is now changing even more, is that actually that's no longer completely true, with AI and technology becoming an ever greater proportion of the law firm product, and with your clients also having similar access to AI, law firms are starting to ask, well, if technology is an increasing component of how we deliver our service, that has now suddenly become strategic. And how can we sell a product, create a product of the future, which is something our clients can't do themselves, so therefore they're going to buy, and something our competitors can't do. So technology now has a different strategic value for law firms. And there's something else that's changed at the same time, which is the reason why this revolution I'm talking about is happening. Because for anyone who's been in tech in the last 5 years, you will know it's just much cheaper to build stuff. You know, if you take a similar scope in 2018 and you do that scope now, it will be around about 50 to 65% cheaper now. And that's to do with obviously AI coding, LLMs being a very simple part of your architecture, relatively speaking. Cloud microservices, there's someone from Amazon here tonight, thank you very much. You know, there were previous revolutions like no and low code in law, and they did okay, but they didn't really deliver because they're just too much of a compromise. What we're now looking at is high code. High code doesn't have compromises. You can build it fast. You can build exactly what you need, and that's what has really changed. And the other thing is, you know, we've all heard, well, people in legal world would have heard of Harvey and Lagora, you know, kind of making waves, but there is nothing in what they are offering their clients that their own clients couldn't quite easily build themselves. And I'm going to show you a bit of that later on. So the truth is, the scales are falling from people's eyes, and with areas of your business which are strategic, they're starting to reach different conclusions. Another reason is that the whole process of owning your product and building a product is now massively de-risked. Yes, it's cheaper to build, but it's also cheaper to innovate. We can now deliver functioning prototypes 2 to 3 times faster than we ever could before. Last week, I mean, it shocked me, to be honest. Last week, we'd met a client the week before. We'd had an hour-long conversation with them. They wanted to build a new due diligence technology. And we said, okay, maybe we'll show them something when we speak again in a week's time. Just before that call, my colleague came on and said, oh, I built this. I looked at it, I thought, my God, that's incredible. They built a complete workflow, due diligence, AI-enabled due diligence platform in a week. Now, of course, they're not going to put that into production, but in terms of the value of that for prototyping, I can tell you, I've run software companies for a very long time. this is a different world. It's a magical time to be creating product because you can de-risk it so heavily. The cycle time is so much quicker now. Of course, there's competition. There are a huge number of law firms. Legal services is a great sector, by the way. Yeah, then lawyers always grumble, but actually they're doing really well compared to other sectors. But it's crowded and they're fearful. And actually differentiation is quite difficult. So it is really, really important. And what we're talking about here is your unique client experience and your unique lawyer experience is super strategic. Now, if you're relying on generic tools to deliver that strategic element, you're going to likely end up generic. It's a model, but good luck with that. And then there's the big issue, which is sensitive, because I've run a SaaS company, of vendor peril. And this is becoming a much, much bigger issue for law firm executives. The reality is a lot of SaaS companies are funded on quite financially unstable ground. And what that adds up to is quite a big risk for the law firm. Sure, the founder that sold you that license is probably unlikely to price gouge you, but they want to exit. So what happens when the private equity company walk in and do what private equity companies do, which is raise prices? So it's become a much bigger issue. And Robin AI, unfortunately, I know Richard, he's a great guy. He's built an amazing business, but in the typical VC way, he has failed to raise his latest round. Just missed it. He's having to do a distressed sale. And of course, that's bad for him and his employees, but it's also bad for his customers. So this is focusing minds a lot more now. And then there is finally security, a lot of data breaches. If you've got a data architecture that's basically federated out to third parties who actually also federate, then subcontract to other third parties, you've got a big data security issue. And that's becoming a big issue. I mean, people have forgotten the name Mossack Fonseca, but just to remind you, this is a law firm in 2016, had a massive cyber breach. Everyone found out about their clients' affairs and they collapsed. And that is even more of a risk today, arguably. And the final thing is, there's a lot of law firms, working with Harvey and Lagora and other AI platforms, and they are teaching, configuring those AI platforms to do their work. And last week we were sitting with a law firm, they're saying, yeah, we're kind of leaders in our space, and we don't really want to do that because, when are they going to become a competitor to us? And that is no longer kind of a fearful fantasy. That is a real possibility in the next few years that someone like Harvey Lagora or someone who buys Harvey Lagora will become a competitor to the very customers that they built their business on. So the answer is, if you're a law firm and you're building something that's strategic, you want to own it. I'm not saying that precludes third-party collaboration. Of course, no one can build software that's completely their own these days, and I wouldn't advise them to do that. There are amazing legal tech businesses out there to work with. But what law firms are now doing is saying, if it's strategic, we want to own that experience for the client and for our lawyers. Because they get apps tailored to their needs, hosted in their own private cloud, secured by their governance, commercially predictable. Yes, they're using large AI models because that's simplified the architecture, but it's their context, their workflow, and their data. And that's where we come in, by the way, because we have pre-built components, which are not kind of no-code, low-code, they're just starting points, but they enable these law firms to accelerate that process of building their own apps. Okay, so I'm just going to show you some examples of what we can do in law firm private clouds, and we can do it super fast. I'm just going to cross to here. It's not mine at all. Here we go. So we have a just a playground that we allow our clients to come into, just give them a sense of the kind of software they can have owned by them, working in their cloud with their security, etc. I'm just going to give you a taste of this. So the first example I'm going to give you here is a tabular component. Now, a lot of AI businesses are selling SaaS are talking a lot about how that they can have this tabular extraction process which enables them to review documents very fast. But you know what? That's not that special, because we've built this ourselves, and we can build this in your platform, in a matter of a few weeks. And you can see here that what's happened is this is an employment contract review. We've just ingested around about 100 employment contracts, and what we've done is we've deployed a tabular component that enables for each cell in that table a separate AI prompt to go to the LLM and grab the answer. And not only that, but we have integrated into that tabular format AI. So you can ask any question you want. We've got some sample questions here, but you could type in any question you like there to interrogate that data set. That's amazingly powerful for lawyers who are doing a due diligence exercise, because it enables them very quickly to validate and turn around a product back to the client. Give you a second example, because I've got slightly more than 12 minutes.
You've actually used your 12 minutes.
Have I?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'm going to give you one more example. So one of the issues you get if you are working with large-scale AI, particularly with large-scale document review, is the problem of drawing conclusions across many documents. So it's quite easy to review a single document and do that. But actually, if you've got hundreds of documents, it's very, very difficult to drill down into that and draw these aggregated conclusions from across those documents. What you need is a kind of graph type technology, which is not generally available, but we have made that available again in a way in which you can just use it in your cloud. So here's again a data room zip file, which of course, because I'm doing a demo, it's saying we haven't. No, it's not going to work. I will have to just explain what happens there, because we've got an authentication issue. What that does is it enables a report to be generated which can draw across all of the supplier contracts in hundreds of contracts in a data room and identify particular sensitivities in that supply base. So, for example, a concentration for certain items that company is reliant on. And that kind of power, which would take room lawyers many weeks to do, is now possible with the latest graph technology. I'll give you one more, simply because that one failed on authentication. I'll just give you one more, which may be more relevant for the lawyers in the room. But one of the hardest things you can ever do as a lawyer is press the send button. You sat there for 2 days preparing this pack of documents, or this response to a pack of documents, and you're about to send it off to your client or across the other side. And things, it's tough, right? You've got hundreds of pages and they all have to kind of tie together. And you're about to press send, and then you don't, and you read it through again, and you find 18 errors. You think, God, thank goodness I didn't press send. And then you think, right, now I'm going to send because I've got a dinner to go to. I'll check it again. You find five others, right? Because the worst thing in the world is when you've sent it and a client comes back the next day and says, yeah, I don't know why you left this out or made this error over here. You feel awful as a lawyer. So what we've created is an interface that enables you to simply send it off to a second pair of eyes. Again, using that graph technology, which can, thank goodness this one actually worked, which can send back a detailed anomaly list. So this is literally you there at 8 o'clock at night trying to get your documents out, and the AI can read through that entire document pack. And this is actually a real example that we were able to use because I was on the receiving end of this for another company in the summer where this actually happened, and these errors was just so painful. So we created this to prevent that happening again. So you can have that second pair of eyes, no cost whatsoever, comes back in minutes, and it checks your work and therefore saves you from creating error. I'm going to end there.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Tim. Any questions quickly before we move on to the next? Anyone with anything, any queries? Yeah, Dan.
Can you talk about your own business model, whether it's services or some IP?
So it's a bit of IP because if a client said to us, "Oh, we don't want to use your component, we want you to build from scratch," then we would probably do that. Although I think it would be a strange thing because the components are not themselves competitive differentiators. So we will supply that on a license, but a very simple license. And because we're not investor funded, we don't have to optimize that too much. But it would be part of essentially the upfront cost of creating the platform. So we are, a lot of consultancy. We do a lot of discovery work, which actually involves a lot of strategic advice, all the way through to the build. And there is a bit of license there. And then clients may want us to provide a maintenance service afterwards as well. So often we'll kind of train up their tech team, mentor their tech team to be able to manage the application, but they'll probably want us to maintain the code. So we will provide a kind of maintenance service thereafter as well.
Thank you very much, Tim.
Thank you.
I'd like to introduce Ed Kendall from Genie AI. Ed heads up the sales team at Genie AI, and essentially they're all about drafting, reviewing, and negotiating contracts with support from AI. So, Ed, talk us through your case study.
Thanks, Mark. Hi, everyone. Very nice to be here. Tim, as you were talking, I think I realised we're wearing the same jumper. It's very, very similar pattern. Is it Massimo Dutti?
No, it's not. No,
It's not. Okay, no, that's not the same jumper. My name is Ed. I head up the sales and partnerships teams at Genie. And I'm going to talk to you today about our go-to-market story in brief, because I also have about 10 minutes. And along the way, one of the curveballs that we encountered, the sporting metaphor is apt, but as you'll see as we go, it's not actually borrowed from the right sport. So a spoiler is that we're not going to be talking about baseball, sadly, for all the baseball enthusiasts in the room. So I'm taking us back to 2017. We're actually one of the first legal tech businesses working in Gen AI of the 791, wherever it is now in the UK. This is our CEO, Rafi, and one of our co-founders. And he started Genie in Cambridge in 2017. And the inciting incident around our business was that Rafi and his co-founder Nitish, they wrote their MSc theses on machine learning and Gen AI back when it was quite a burgeoning technology. And the second part of the story was they had lots of conversations with their fellow startups and small businesses where they were struggling to build up their suite of contracts and documents because it was either too time consuming or far too costly with external counsel. Sorry to some of the lawyers and Mishcon in the room. So what did we decide to create? So over the last 8 years, we have developed a platform that supports mainly lean teams. So we don't have law firms as our clients. We support startups and young businesses, often those who do not have their own in-house legal counsel. And they're doing a bunch of different contracting tasks on Genie. So mainly the drafting, review, and negotiation of contracts. They're using their own rules, which they can set and then run against all their contracts. And they're also getting access to market standards. So a huge data set of market standards as well. So in terms of our go-to-market, when we started, those of you who have run go-to-market before will know that you normally have axes and matrices coming out of your ears at some point. This was our matrix or our axis. We're looking at contracts here. So we have on Y, we have a risk axis, and we have on X a volume axis. We wanted to work out first where different typical contracts sat for an average small business. So you might plot on this axis NDAs, for example, in high volume and low risk. So everyone here will have signed or even drafted NDAs. It's kind of bonkers. We live in a world where there are billions and billions of different NDAs that are all doing very, very similar things. Services agreements will probably be in the higher right quadrant, and then you'll have the slightly rarer documents on this side for a typical business. And so our go-to-market was all about what pattern of contracting do we expect from our ideal customer. And for us at Genie, we decided that that was going to live here in this kind of purple bean kind of shape. You're seeing a lot of purple today. I don't really know why. That's a theme. So our sort of prophecy was that companies are going to be most comfortable trusting AI at the offset to lower risk contracts that are higher volume and more by rote. And that as we go through time, they'll start trusting them more and more for the higher risk side. So finally, we wanted to place different industries in this matrix, industries where the companies exhibit this kind of pattern of contracting. We found a couple, just some examples here. Construction is definitely one. So a large number of contracts have to come together for development projects to get off the ground, and also tech. We're working with both these industries on standards. We work with a number of trade bodies in construction on trying to develop some standards for subcontractor agreements at the moment, which is a big kind of bent for the industry at large. So we developed an engine which was product-led growth, where we put out a lot of content, contracts, templates, and guides for these industries that then attracted people towards us. So that was our kind of product-led growth strategy. It's been very patient, and today we have around 100,000 users of our platform. I think we passed that milestone this year, and a lot of them are from, as we suspected, those kind of industries. So you're probably wondering what's the curveball? What kind of changed our point of view when we were doing this? The curveball came from somewhere very close to where we're sitting today. Came from this man. So this man is Alex Tunbridge. He is the CEO of Cambridge United. So not baseball, football, the grand reveal. And he called us up this summer, and he told us the situation that Cambridge United were in. I know there are a couple of U fans in the building, actually. And he said that Cambridge have recently been relegated from League One to League Two, unfortunately. What that means from a financial point of view is that their revenues for the year are likely going to go from around 10 million to around 5. So it halves your revenues when you go down between those two leagues. It also halves the amount of cost that you're able to put towards wages for your team. So that's why you see a degradation of football teams as they get relegated between leagues. Now, Cambridge United, they don't have their own in-house legal team. They work with external counsel to the tune of around £100,000 per year. So they're spending quite a lot on their counsel. But the aha moment came when they rang us in the summer, and we found out a little bit more about transfer windows. And so those of you who are into sport, into football, will know that contracts to sign up players and to loan players can only be signed in particular windows. So it's a month and a half in the summer, and it's a month in the winter. So their contract process was essentially against the clock. And this element of timing was one that we hadn't really forecast in our models or in our go-to-market plans. And so a month later, we are now working with Cambridge. They're the first professional sports team in the world to be using AI to sign and manage the flow of player contracts, which is really exciting. We helped them to get a couple of extra players in at the end of the last transfer window. And our strategy next is to add an extra access to our go-to-market matrix, which is urgency and the timing of contracts as well. The last league table I'm going to show you, this is a really interesting one, or for me I think it's very interesting. So this is a league table of the top sports franchises in the world by revenue, annual revenue. So you'll see that there are, in the top 5, a whole lot of advertising heavy American leagues and franchises, which is kind of interesting because some of these don't have particularly global reach. Alongside the illustrious Premier League. Now, what's interesting about the leagues in English football is the depth. So the Championship sits at number 14, rubbing shoulders with the IPL. Leagues 1 and 2 are around the kind of 40-50 mark, so they're still quite high up in terms of revenue generation. And so our plan next is to kind of rise through the different leagues of English football and probably to look at other sports franchises as well, as part of our go-to-market, and build trust through different clubs. And we're already in conversations with quite a few others in the same league as Cambridge, and they're encouraging us along the way to do so. I'm going to finish with a very quick VT. So we're going to see if the technology is playing game. Let me go over here. So hopefully you'll be able to see a minute of the action, not football action, but the action of contract drafting, which in many ways is more exciting. It is to me.
Groundbreaking. It felt like a great synergy. We were the first football club to introduce AI into the football industry. We felt there was an opportunity here to use AI to upskill and also increase the quality of our work and reduce errors. The biggest challenge, I would say, is timing. One of the things that Genie's allowed us to do is to input a contract and be able to get summaries and key information out of it very quickly. In terms of a chance of a deadline day, not being able to move at the quickest possible speed may mean you may miss out on the player. It may mean you can't get a player registered in time. The first signs are really positive, but there's no doubt in our mind from what we've seen so far that this will be implemented across the whole club. Any contract, really. There's a lot of work to do at this football club in terms of staging redevelopment and from academy to accounts and catering. Success absolutely looks like giving our small team more time to improving the fan engagement experience, the corporate activation and sponsorship activation. And hopefully for Genie AI that can be rolled out across other clubs.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much, Ed. That's great. Questions for Ed? Cindy.
Thanks so much, Ed, for a great talk. Could I ask a question about validation? Does your contract have any, is any lawyer checking the contract, or has contract ever been challenged in court so far?
Answer to the latter is no, fortunately, but we do have the proviso that we're not a law firm, so we don't guarantee the accuracy of our content. We obviously do a lot of stuff in between to try and mitigate against hallucinations and make it as accurate as possible. And there are data sets that we have input into the platform that have been generated by law firms. So our kind of technology stack is built on expertise from firms from early days. So we're doing our best, but the answer is unfortunately no. We don't act in the same way.
Yeah, question at the back.
Are there any particular challenges with trying to target non-legal professionals specifically?
Yeah, well, that's one. Yeah, so in terms of like, I guess, whether there's going to be a guarantee of final accuracy, what we normally recommend with use of the platform is it's used in conjunction with an in-house team or with external counsel, or they're just very familiar tasks that are being done over and over again. That's normally the largest. But with smaller businesses, growing businesses, they normally perceive the kind of risk-reward payoff a little bit differently to very large conglomerates. So they're normally, I mean, folks in Cambridge, for example, very open to innovation with these things.
Finally, yep.
Thank you, guys. In the construction industry, who's the typical user?
The typical user, so in construction, we actually often find it's the commercial teams. So it's those managing projects or signing up new projects for development that use us. So it's often quite large commercial teams, and they're normally focused on things like EPC and JCT contracts, which are templated. and they have large amendments that they need to review and understand better.
Very good. Thank you so much, Ed. That was great.
Thanks, Mark.
So we now have 3 quick-fire demos. Very exciting. So first up is my colleague Nick Morley, Chief Product Officer at Grounded AI, who's going to introduce Veracity for Legal.
Okay, great. Awesome. Yeah, so I'm Nick Morley, co-founder at Grounded AI, and I'm going to talk about citation checking. So the problem that we're seeing, and I'm sure everyone in the domain is very aware of this, is this widespread problem with citation reliability. So we're seeing huge amounts of fake, fabricated or hallucinated stuff coming into the legal record, and I've got this great resource to make this point. If you're not already familiar with the work of Damien Charlatan, he's actually composed a database of all of the times where this has happened. And so we've got, this number gets bigger every time I look at it. It was actually 533 when I looked last. But we've got, instances of lawyers basically bringing fabricated citations or misquoting things, misrepresenting cases, bringing that to court, getting caught out essentially, and it's having disastrous consequences. So it's leading to, obviously, lawyers getting sanctions, fines, and it's just downright embarrassing. So why is this happening? Well, clearly it's due to an over-reliance on these new AI technologies, which clearly aren't quite fit for purpose. It's also, a product of the time pressure that lawyers are under, that they are having to take these shortcuts, relying on these tools. But most notably, what we found was that this is due to an absence of strong verification workflows. So what you actually need is a system to catch and prevent these types of errors. And that's what we want to show today. And we actually at Grounded AI have already built a citation checking tool. It's currently in use in the domain of scholarly publishing. And the situation there is you have tens of millions of papers being submitted every year. And we need to rapidly screen those to make sure that the citations are real and that they are credible and that they are relevant. And this allows, right now, 10 publishers through 4 platform integrations to rapidly identify problematic citation usage and correct it or get rid of it. And just to give you an idea, that currently catches fake citations in over 10% of submitted scientific papers today, which is wild. So we need to take this opportunity that we see to apply this same core technology to the legal domain, right? Where you have this same structural problem where you have a domain which is highly reliant on correct citation usage, right? For just upholding the law. Checking citations by hand is very laborious. And actually getting them wrong has massive consequences. So we need a solution to help verify citations better and faster, and that's exactly what I'm going to show you now. So we're looking here at a view from our citation checking solution, which is called Veracity. And just to introduce the content we're looking at here, this is a real brief from one of the aforementioned instances of fake, fabricated, AI hallucinated stuff. Story here was the lawyer submits the brief. This is the case Lacey versus State Farm in the US, for anyone who's interested. The judge starts reviewing this, notices some curiosities, let's call them, in the citations, begins a long back and forth with the lawyer. Many hours later, they unearthed a huge number of very problematic errors in the content, and so it makes a great case study for a citation checking demo. So I'm going to show you a few examples here. So what we've done here is we've taken this content, we've detected all of the citations being used, and now we're going to find those original sources that are being referred to. And now we're making sure that the quotations and claims are actually verifiable against those sources. So this in green, this is the happy path, right? This is a case where we've been able to find it. And sorry, Mark, you can't see there. It's a terrible seat you've chosen. And in this case, actually verified the quotation against that. So that's what you want to see. Contrast that to, for example, an instance here where actually the lawyer's provided a quotation which does not appear in the source content. In this case, then maybe the meaning's preserved, but this still is very undermining. You don't want to be misquoting sources. Worse still, actually misstating or misrepresenting those sources, that's critical. And finally, everyone's favorite du jour is citations to sources which do not exist at all. So complete fiction. And this is, real stuff. So this is a great example of, I think, the value of and the potential of citation checking tools. You can imagine if the judge had this, they would have been able to save hours and catch all these errors quickly. And of course, if the lawyer had it, well, we wouldn't be here today showing this garbage. So what we want to do with this is integrate it into products and workflows that legal professionals already use. We are delighted to currently be piloting with ICLR, gold standard for law reporting in the UK. We have Andy here from ICLR today. And so, if you share our vision that citation verification is a crucial and urgently needed piece in the legal tech stack, come and have a chat to us or look us up online, get in touch. Cheers.
Our next speaker is Stephen Foley, who's joined us all the way from Melbourne, Australia, and is come here to talk about Legal Ready, his application. So, Stephen, it's all yours.
Thanks, everybody. Our product really is focused around barristers and solicitors to begin with, and being able to get the electronic brief, if you like, from a solicitor to a barrister. And we've been pretty successful in Australia. It's a little bit smaller country than the UK, but we've got over 70,000 legal professionals on our platform now. 75% of the Australian bar use this technology. My background is actually my father and grandfather were barrister clerks, so I sort of got brought up on barristers, but decided technology was the place I wanted to go, be it good or bad. It's certainly the last 30 or so years I've seen an enormous change, and AI has really, in the last 2 years, magnified that. So we've done very well in Australia. We're used across many government organisations. The Office of Public Prosecutions in Victoria use it for all their criminal cases and to brief barristers. And I guess where the technology originated from was from that barrister's background. I saw that that barristers are getting their documents in too many different formats. They don't have a whole support staff behind them. They were getting bundles of documents, so we're getting Dropboxes, OneDrives, emails, USB sticks, and we felt that if we could create a platform that would capture all that information, and we made it pretty economical to purchase. So in fact, the most anybody pays for that product is £1 a day, and that gives them access to what I'm about to show you, and they can share their matters with anybody they want to share with, and they don't pay. A bit like a Zoom call. I make a Zoom call, you don't have to pay for the Zoom call. So we've got over 300,000 matters on our platform in Australia, 1 million documents uploaded each month, and we have an annotation capability in it, so that we have over 35,000 annotations created each month. The AI components I wanted to talk about today are really three: smart classification, analyze, and chronologies. So smart classification is where you just have a whole lot of documents come on the system. They're very poorly named, and so the legal assistant normally has to go through and figure out what the name should be. So the smart classification basically goes and recommends, this is the name of the document, this is the folder I recommend you put it into, and this is the date I've extracted, and they can be checked. And then the analyze function is really like a chat GPT, if you like, but it's just working on that container of documents. So it can't hallucinate because it's staying inside the four walls of those documents. And you can ask whatever question you like. So you might ask, what are the main issues with this group of documents, or what do you see are the inaccuracies or the differences between the applicant and respondent's documents, or maybe another question is I'm representing the applicant. What would be some good cross-examination questions to ask from a barrister's point of view? And so what we're trying to work with, I guess, particularly in the legal profession, is an education process at the moment, where we're saying, what does good AI look like as against bad AI? Hallucinations is obviously a major problem for everybody, so we want to make sure that people understand you can have products that will not hallucinate by staying inside the boundaries of the documents you give it. And then chronology is obviously one of the main things that lawyers use technology all the time for, and the ability to create a chronology quickly that you can check against the documents is really important. So let me take you into the product now so you can actually see what it looks like in practice. So this is litigation ready here on the screen. I've got a matter here already. Just to give you a sense, if I've learnt one thing in life, it's to make it very simple for people to use the application, particularly with lawyers. If anybody ever comes back and says it's very sophisticated, I go, we've lost them. If they come back and say it's simple to use, I know that we've got something. And I think that we've been able to develop something here which is really easy to use, quite intuitive. And so I think that's why we've been able to get mass adoption on the system, because it's simple. You can have folder structures like I've got here. You can set them up, those folder structures, so that you can have exactly what you want. If I wanted a new folder over here, I can just click on new folder and I can create whatever I want on the system there. I'll just call it A1 just to show you what that looks like. And then you can move the folders up and down so where you want them. You have subfolders, and then really simply you can just come over here and add documents. So this has really been just a really lovely way to share documents. So the solicitor can create the documents, upload them onto the system, share them with the barrister. You can just share over here very easily and give different permissions depending on who you're sharing with, and make them read only if you like, or just upload only. But again, very simple to use, all of that. So let me just show you a couple of those AI features. So I've got another matter over here called the litigation ready demo matter, and here I've got some submissions on the system, and I can tag on here and I can go under bulk actions for those 5 documents. Just create me a chronology. So I click on there, create a chronology, bang, there it is. And so it's gone through and pulled out all the dates in those documents, and it's come back. And the important thing here is that any of those dates, I can check the date, and I can come back and go into the document and just make sure that where I've got the date from. So what we're always trying to emphasize is that at this moment in time, it is the human needs to be in the loop. The barrister, the solicitor, you need to be in the loop. It's not about the AI is correct. And the best analysis I can give in terms of legal is it's like having your junior, in terms of barristers, like having your junior 24/7 who's coming back and giving you these reports, and you're able to look at them and see if they're good or not. So that's the best analogy we can give when we're people are trying to understand how this thing works. And then the other one, of course, is the ability to analyze the information. So it's the same 5 documents. Here I can just ask questions. So one of the questions I've got here is summarize the key facts of these documents, but I can ask it anything I like on the system. And again, it'll go through and pull that information back. Again, it can't hallucinate. It's staying in the 5 with those 5 documents, and it's coming back. And again, every one of those documents that's come back with, it's come back and it's telling me exactly where I can go to find that information. And we had an example the other day where KC was doing family law work and had nine expert witness reports to summarise around children's conditions, and he put the question in, tick 9 documents, summarise these 9 documents, and it came back and gave the summary, and he contacted me and said it was perfect. I don't have to change a word on it. And he's really worried because it's perfect. I don't have to do anything. And I said, but you have to put your rubber stamp on it and say that that's correct. And that's why they're paying you the big bucks, because you're the one who's checking that. So I think that's a really important process. But this is a revolution in this industry. Not everybody's going to take it up, but the ones who are using this technology now are feeling bad because they're saying, I'm at a significant advantage over everybody else that's not using it, because they've got this instant ability to check things. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
And our last presenter, Tina Fernandez. Sorry, no time for questions. You'll just have to hunt people down at the end, I'm afraid. Tina Fernandez from ConsoliDocs, and Sarah from ConsoliDocs. Sorry,
No,
Susan.
Susan is just the.
I don't speak and drive, so Susan.
Right, very good.
So I'm actually driving the setup.
Off you go. So the floor is yours.
Hi everyone, I'm Tina Fernandez. I am founder and CEO of ConsoliDocs, and Susan Hewitt is my CTO. I have been a technology lawyer for over 20 years, drafting contracts in-house that nobody reads after signature. And not knowing what your contract says is costing companies millions each year. Visibility and accountability is complicated, fragmented, and siloed. And no one person in an organization is responsible for performance of the whole contract. And ConsoliDocs is going to change that. That is why we're doing it, and this is the how. Firstly, we turn all your contracts and amendments into contract data. We do this by uploading them onto the platform. And not only do we upload them, at the time we upload them, what we do is we chunk them and turn signed documents into contract data. We then summarize all the documents. This takes a couple of minutes, and as we only have 5 minutes for this demo in Blue Peter fashion, we've already uploaded them here. As you can see, it's just a list of individual files with different naming conventions, but they all relate to a number of contracts. The next thing we do is we sort all the documents, placing the right contracts with the right amendments and schedules. We do this because most contracts are stored in a mess with no proper naming convention, and it enables us to keep all the documents in one place. As you can see here, you can see the original and the amendment both stored in the same folder. And then the next thing we do is we consolidate the documents. So when we consolidate the documents, what you will see is you'll be able to see the original and a consolidated version side by side with amendments highlighted. And as you scroll down, you will see everything in blue is inserted by a new amendment. Everything in yellow is where part of the text has been amended, or when further down you'll see when clauses have been deleted. This is just the start of what we do. This is the engine that turns signed contracts and amendments, giving you a single source of truth first to be able to see what the current version of the contract is. But this is our engine that turns contracts into contract data. What we plan to do, I forgot Colin. Can we show them Colin?
Yes.
Colin's our AI chatbot. Colin will be able to take you to any part of the contract that you want to look at. Colin at the moment is a search functionality, but he will evolve into a full AI chatbot that can respond to plain language queries. All our contract data is stored in a database, segregated and specific to each client. And we're not an AI wrapper, so we're not Gen AI. We don't use LLMs. We have fine-tuned small language models for specific use cases. So we have an SLM that does the consolidation. We have an SLM that does summarization. And that gives us the guardrails to keep the data accurate with no hallucinations. What we intend to do with ConsoliDocs is to turn it into the contract brain in an organization. So we're currently building APIs to pull finance, sales, and operations data, and eventually regulation and policy to actively monitor the contract 24/7 and notify you when obligations have been met, or you have price increases that you haven't taken into account. We believe it's the dashboard that we produce that will be the primary resource for the entire organization, giving people instant visibility to the entire contract estate and how each contract is performing, from an individual user who only has access to parts of the contract through to team, department, and organization access. This is one example of a dashboard, but the dashboards are customizable to department and to user. Imagine taking all your contract chaos and putting it in one place to enable everyone to drive performance on a daily basis. Wouldn't that be transformational? Thank you.
Brilliant. What a great demo. So thanks very much to our wonderful speakers and wonderful demos. Very beautifully done. There will be a chance, obviously, to meet and mingle and ask further questions of the presenters and speakers afterwards over a drink and a pizza at the back. I'd just like to mention a couple of things. We've got our next meeting is on the 15th of January, and it's about AI in education. It's going to be around the corner at Raspberry Pi. So that's in the new year. And we are currently scheduling further AI meetings next year. So if anybody has any suggestions for topics or people we should be talking to, very happy to. So possible ideas are about AI infrastructure and data center issues. But there are lots of other ideas that are floating around. So anyone has any ideas, please come and chat to me afterwards. And finally, I'd just like to thank again our generous hosts, Mishcon, Reya, and our sponsors, RedTech, for making this event possible. And thank you very much all for coming.